Hey everybody, Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich here. Well, we've got another round of strong, possibly severe storms heading our way for late Thursday into Friday. It's kind of different than Monday. It's not much of a tornado threat compared to Monday. There's still a chance, but it's mainly straight line winds. And I'll talk about this as we get into it, but it's a completely different setup. So I don't want you to be thinking it's going to be a very similar setup to what we saw on Monday. So here's the severe weather risk today and tonight. Not a big deal, right? Pretty much to our west. Now tomorrow, it's kind of interesting. You see that severe weather risk to the west, and that includes most of the mountains, foothills, and parts of the Piedmont. So we're technically in that low-end risk area. And the reason we're seeing that low-end risk area right now is because potentially we could see some strong storms develop late tomorrow in this vicinity, especially late evening into the maybe nighttime hours. So it's really going to be tomorrow night that we're going to watch. And then we see the severe weather risk for Friday. Notice how we're in the low risk over the Piedmont, but then the Sandhills into central North Carolina, even parts of the Piedmont, are in the medium risk because that same front is going to be moving across the area. So where is this thing right now? Well, let's look at it. You can see it off to the west. There's a couple bands. This big low pressure system right in here, but you can kind of see these spokes of energy. One there, one here, and then one here. This one is just going to provide rain overnight. Not a big deal. Some rain tomorrow morning. This is the one that could produce severe weather tomorrow evening. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock in the evening. And then Friday mornings is right there. So to kind of break down the timing of all that, that's what we're looking at. So what type of severe weather are we looking at? Well, primary concern here, folks, is going to be straight line winds. This is our biggest issue, followed next by flooding. But there is a tornado risk. Now, the way that is ordered, it's by the number of events. Still could have a tornado, but there's probably going to be 4 or 5 times as many flood wind reports than tornado reports. So, and this is always the case. And we always worry about tornadoes, and people, for good reason, get freaked out by tornadoes. But I'm telling you, man, most of the time, winds and flooding are going to be our primary concern, then hail and tornadoes. But tornadoes get all the headlines, and sometimes we forget that damaging severe thunderstorms can do a lot of damage. Now, what are we missing in this setup? Could be some instability. Now, I'll show you what it looks like on the wider view first. So we go through tonight, and I'm going to stop this tomorrow morning. There's going to be a warm front right in here at some point pushing through the area. That warm front is going to usher in the hot, humid air. Notice the rain in the morning. So this is why the flash flood threat is kind of high for the mountains. We get the southeast, what we call upslope flow. That pushes moisture up into the mountains. That mountains lift it like a ramp, and we tend to see heavy rain. So there's a pretty significant threat for flash flooding in the mountains. But this is the band we're watching for later in the evening. Now look at the times up in the corner there. I'll stop it at noon. So you see the rain. None of that, I don't expect any of that to be too severe, but we'll get closer to 3, 4 in the afternoon. Now we got to start watching some of these because the sun is out. With the warm front is way up here now. We're fully into that hot, muggy, juicy air. So any of these storms, and notice where they are, where that low risk was in the western part of our area, potentially some strong storms in there pushing in. And you can see that band coming in around 7 o'clock, even maybe all the way to Charlotte, 8, 9 o'clock. And then we go into the overnight hours. The front gets here early Friday morning, and there's another round of strong storms right there. And don't worry, I'm going to show you a closer up view of this, but I wanted to start wide first. And then we go into the afternoon. Sun comes out. Could see an additional pop-up storm. Got a truck race going on tomorrow night. Don't think it's a big deal. Could see a passing shower, but you can see by then all that stuff is pushing out. What are the ingredients we could be missing in this? Well, it's all about the storm fuel. I'm going to move my head out of the way here. I'll move it over to the other side real quickly. So what you're looking at, up there, we're basically looking at the wind shear, a trigger. We got that. The storm fuel, heat and humidity. How much of that do we have? Maybe not a whole lot, depending on the cloud cover, but I don't think it's going to matter because that warm front pushing north, even with cloudy skies, we're certainly going to have plenty of it around. But I will tell you, as I always say, don't want to see the sun tomorrow. We do not want to see it. And here's why. The thunderstorm fuel on our futurecast tries to sneak up here tomorrow morning, but then by about middle of the day, we start to see some low end, some moderate levels. Look at some of that moderate coming up around 5, 6 o'clock. So those cells that are coming up in the evening, that's why I said the evening hours, there's some juice there for these to feed off of, some gasoline for those thunderstorms. And then Friday morning, watch the big surge. Even with cloud cover in the middle of the night, that's a low-level jet cranking up some instability there. So by the time we wake up Friday morning, there could be strong storms in the morning. So I don't expect it to be an overnight event, but you could wake up to some strong storms on Friday morning, and then the system pushes east, some lingering instability, but really by this time the front's so far to the east that I'm not overly concerned. So let's look at something that's short-range rapid refresh model. So what I'm going to show you is the future radar and the rotation tracks from this high-resolution model. It's kind of unique to see this happen. So tomorrow morning you wake up, there's that upslope flow I talked about, 7 a.m., there's the moisture coming in. This is probably underdoing the amount of rain that's going to be falling in those areas. We go into the middle of the day, I'll stop around noon, some scattered showers, maybe a thunderstorm. 3, 4, 5 o'clock, not a whole lot. And again, we'll wait and see if this updates. 5 o'clock, things start to get interesting. Got a cell there, got some strong cells developing here. And notice the time up there in the corner, 5 p.m., 6, 7, 8, 9. Look at this line trying to move in. That's pretty potent right there. In fact, you've got some strong storms and some rotation tracks in the upstate heading into western North Carolina, Burke County, Cleveland County area, Rutherford County, Polk County. Then by 9, 10, 11, still got some strong storms, but they're beginning to weaken. They're still there, but the rotation tracks don't show much going on. So that's why overnight I'm not overly concerned. We lose the heating of the day. But then Friday morning, look at the front, starts heading in 7, 8 o'clock, 9, starting to get some heat there. So some interesting things going on here. That's a broken line, but that's a pretty strong line. Got some rotation tracks there, weak one there, one up there. Nothing crazy. Doesn't look anything like we saw on Monday, but a couple to watch, but certainly some damaging winds possible. And then we go into the afternoon, the front starts to push east, so those strong storms start to crank back up. That's why there's a medium risk to areas heading off towards the east. And you can see, boy, by then, this might be where things get crazy in the afternoon as it heads towards central North Carolina. So again, severe weather risk, probably 2 waves, Thursday night and again Friday morning into midday. Also, do not let your guard down for flash flooding in the mountains. There's the medium risk. And again, there's a look at the risk on Friday with some low end and medium risk. But behind all this, this is the good news. Memorial Day weekend. Once this front moves through, folks, you get that. So we just got to get through tomorrow into Friday. Of course, I will continuously post updates. It's a good time to be weather aware. And please, I don't often say this, tell people to follow me on Facebook and Twitter. With the previous events, we've been streaming long before tornado warnings are issued, giving you a heads up. And we will send notifications to your phone. So the other thing I want you to do is get the WCNC News app. Grab this thing right now. We send out push notifications. We stream right to it. If you're not on Facebook, or YouTube or a Roku app, we will stream to this device on that app. So grab that app. We'll put out a push notification saying, hey, you're not under warning, but Brad is tracking severe weather. Here's a live stream you can watch. And just like the last 3 tornado warnings, we've been streaming, talking about the weather long before the warnings come out, trying to give you a heads up. So tell your friends, just for weather safety, they need to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Follow us on WCNC. Get that app right now. I tell you, it can be a lifesaver, and it can give you a heads up that you're not going to get from the typical warnings. Don't always wait for your phone to go off. Pay attention to what I'm saying ahead of time. I'll try to give you as much heads up as possible. Not perfect. It's still the weather, but I'm going to try to give you as much notice as possible that there's a possibility something could happen so that you're more weather aware as we get into these spring storms.